for motion. The first motion is going to be apologies. Yep. Okay. Well, I think we'll get started and rock into it. I can let you know that the Mayor has apologised. He'll be a slight amount late, but he will be here. So we'll welcome to the Mangawhai Community Park Committee meeting of Tuesday, the 18th of June. We'll do apologies first. And I'll call for a mover for, or Philip Johnson is an apology. He's in hospital. No other apologies? I'll move that we accept the apologies. Second. Thank you, Mary Ann. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Passed. Confirmation of agenda. Can we have a mover to confirm the agenda, please? Thank you, Rachel. I'll second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Cool. So we've confirmed the agenda. Conflict of interest declaration. I must read this. Elected and committee members are reminded of the need to be vigilant and stand aside from decision making when a conflict arises between their role as councillors, committee members, and any private or other external interests they might have. It is also considered best practice for those members to the executive team attending the meeting to also signal any conflicts that they may have with an item before the committee. Are there any conflicts to declare? Nope. Thank you. So we move to the minutes of the last meeting of 20th of February 2024. And I have a mover. I'll move that. Second. Thank you, Rachel. All those in favour, please say aye. Nothing arising. So now move to Mangawhai Community Park Governance Operations and Project Team update, and we'll welcome Jenny.
Thank you. Kia ora, everyone. I'm doing this on my own today. Unfortunately, Lara's unable to attend the meeting as well. So purpose of the report is to give you an update on what's been happening within the park from the project teams, work with the licensees, and also the operational work that's been happening. I do have a couple of updates from my report as well, just to let you know that today the kiosk, so the kiosk was part of the information centre at the entrance to the club and the golf club. The kiosk will be, the start of the removal for that will be today, and that will probably take two to 2.5 days for that to be completed. So the kiosk materials is going to Maz, and Maz will store it and look at some opportunities for doing something with it in the future. The skate bowl remediation, so the remediation of the bowl is complete in terms of the work that the contractor has done to remove and replace the actual bowl, and Daniel's probably able to give you more of an update, but yeah, my understanding is the coping and the external part of the bowl has been completed now. Yeah, so that's really great news. And the historic village, in terms of the skip, that they have also had the skip provided and have been able to remove the rubbish area. I'm not sure if the skip's been removed. I've been off. And I'm going to be working with them around how they secure the timber that's there so that that can be used in the future within the park. The signage and branding for the park, the signs have been completed. everything's in place for the Thelma Road, corner of Thelma Road, and the entrance to the Museum and Historic Village for both those signs to be erected. The other two signs won't be erected until after the shared path on Molesworth Drive is completed. So just waiting for an ETA from the contractor, but everything's been confirmed and passed now.
Jenny, just on that one, if I may, can we have a photo shoot opportunity when those first signs go up?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
and just to clarify, the ones that aren't going up are what, the ones at the top, or?
Yes, so the one at Maz, so the entrance to the Maz car park, and the one at the golf club entrance. So we do know where the Maz one's going, and that's all been mapped out and cleared. We just can't put it up at the moment because it's the alternative walking route while the shared path's under construction. And the one at the entrance to the club, obviously we have to wait until the shared path's completed because we're not 100% where the positioning will be, so that will be a little bit longer.
Yeah,
they are being made and stored all at Juicy Media, so they're all ready to go when we have the okay to erect them.
But that's the shared path coming out of the park.
Yes, and down past the club.
Down past where the kiosk is.
Yes. Yes, so we looked and we thought it's just too much of a risk to try and think of where to put it without knowing what the actual shared path is going to look like there. So, yeah.
I thought I thought they had detailed where that shared path is going to go now.
Oh, it's more around NTA and everybody looking from line of sight and everything with pulling in and pulling out and all of that, because there's a little bit of technical things that have to happen from other departments. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we just clarify, you, Mr. Chairman, there are 4 signs altogether?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep, dead right. 2 down.
Thelma,
Museum, Maz.
and the one near Maz is covering the fire service and the St John as well, really.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
And the other update for you is we had the pre-start meeting yesterday for the stormwater flood remediation, and that is programmed to start on the 21st of June, the works there. So we'll be getting comms out on that and working really closely with Maz in terms of supporting them when we have to close any of the fixtures in there just to get some of the work done as well.
There was a query on that, Jenny, in the papers here about a blessing for the work that was being done there on May 27th.
Yes.
Were invites sent out to all of us?
I don't organise the blessing, sorry, that's the project manager, but I'm not sure. I think it was just a very informal blessing.
Oh, I'm sure it was, but I just think that, you know, we are participants, and whilst we have the right to not attend, I think that some would like to, and I don't think it's a sign of our representation.
Right, I'll pass that on to the project manager.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the blessing for?
Our stormwater through the park, down where we're starting now.
Yep.
Above the fire station.
Yes.
Righto, and all the way down past Maz. Get rid of all the water that you've been dealing with.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Part of a bigger project ultimately.
Yes.
But any blessing is part of a kind of partnership that it's quite important that at least we're aware of it. Yeah. Yeah.
So Maz committee did attend, along with Te Ore Aho and some of the members of KDC.
Yeah, well,
I
think the invite should have
the committee
come to the committee.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm quite concerned. Yeah, hear that.
Yeah, I just saw it here. I hadn't
seen it, but I read it.
Yeah. This is the first time I'd seen anything about it too. So, just if that could be noted, and in future, for an
Yes.
invite. So
Yeah,
that we know.
definitely. I'll let the project managers know that.
Thank you, Jenny.
And just from an operational point of view, from Lara, just to let you know that the zones that had the contractor had pulled out of, they've now secured another contractor and the works should be starting shortly. She didn't have an actual date for me, so I'll keep you updated on when that happens. And that was
Is that zone 5, 6 and 7?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
quite a big area, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I should have said we'll take your report as read, Jenny, unless there's elements to cover off, and you've covered off some. Is there anything else?
Not from my point of view. If there's any questions that you have for me, I'll try and answer them or take them away and get answers.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so thank you.
The Crown,
I'll just move and get it on the table officially, and then we can go into questions. So I'll move that we accept the Mangawhai Community Park Governance Operations and Project Team update. Seconder?
Yes.
Thank you, Rachel. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any questions? Thank you, Marianne.
I was just interested to have a little bit more understanding of the crown lifting of palms within Mayor's car park.
You got anything on there?
To follow that
What
up
does
with.
that mean?
What was the question?
Crown lifting of palms within Mayor's car park. What does that mean?
I would have to check that, but that's not my area of work, so I'll have to check that with Lara for you and get back.
So, sorry, through the chair.
Yes.
So this hasn't happened yet, or it's scheduled to be happening soon? Or there's just no kind of dates or any information on there?
So the way I read it, and Sue may be able to help me out here, is that these are things that have been done or programmed.
Look out, structure and removal, we know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it says actual operational expenses. So I think that, and there's she's
Yeah,
year to date. Chosen.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I would say that's been done.
Okay, and I did have a couple of questions on that. So the 155,000 maintenance, Jenny, estimated cost under review, that's what we've budgeted for now for the park for the next years?
Yes.
155
Yes.
planned operational expenses. So this is looking forward. Okay.
425.
And then we've got zone 3, 12, 13, etc. So there are different amounts allocated for vegetation control on those other areas, which is great. So we hope that it is to be hoped that now we have a budget for the park, along with all the other parks, that we can definitely stay in control of the vegetation, because that is our critical factor. Any other questions, anybody? I have one more for you, Jenny. Just a note on the Deering Trust. Is everything progressing well as far as that goes with the museum?
We have not had any more update. We had an initial meeting with their steering committee, so KDC staff did, and we've had no more meetings with them at all, so I'm unable to tell you.
Okay, could I please ask, because I mean, I think that this is going to be our next, big project in there, is that maybe for the next governance meeting that we have a specific update on the status of the relationship with the museum and how things are working and coming on, what the timelines are.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Appreciated.
We can do that.
And Daniel, you got anything to add regarding Maz and the bowl, etc.?
Not really, other than it's all finally going pretty well. I imagine the coping will all be finished this week, hopefully, which will just leave the slab to be put around it, and that would only take, I think, about a week as well. So by July, I would expect it to be finally open. Yeah. Last thing to think about. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Through the chair, I think I was talking to Kate Arbuckle, who's the chairperson, and I think MAS committee were hoping to have a blessing once it was open, or something formal around opening it. So we'll definitely make sure that you're all aware of what's happening.
Thank you.
very good, very good. No further questions. We'll stick to the mover's statement, and that being me, I think that it's all well covered, and it's just pleasing to see that we do have what appears to be good budgets, and that we look forward to hearing updates on how all that maintenance works out, and that we will see a greatly improved Mangawhai Community Park. Rachel, would you like to add anything to second?
Thank you. Yeah, just to add to what councillor Howard has said, I think there's some real positives here, and it's good to see the increased maintenance budget, and that we've got, maintenance, routine maintenance coming up. So I think it's all a positive for the park. So thank you for your report, Jimmy.
All right, anybody else like to speak? No, and I have nothing further to add, so we'll move to the next. We will note that the operations and project team update.
We just need to vote.
Yeah, and we vote. So, okay, thank you. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Thank you. So we move to item 4, Mangawhai Community Park Governance Committee Risk Update, May 24, and we welcome.
So Glenys is not online yet.
She's not.
No, so if we move to the next item because Mark is on.
Okay, if Mark is here, and this could take some time, but that's all right. So,
Sorry,
okay,
she has just joined, sorry.
he has.
Apologies.
Okay.
But Glenys is here. So, are you there, Glenys?
I am. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Welcome. We'll take your report as read. Are there any points you wish to highlight?
There's nothing specific that I'd like to highlight. Everything that has been identified as hazards is currently being monitored, and you'll be able to see there from our controls that we do have ongoing monitoring in place. That's done in by the community group, but also by our contractor, and then it is also from the health and safety team, we also do a walkthrough of that park on a regular basis.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's nothing further to add. Thank you, Glenn. We'll step down. We'll have some questions. So I'll move that the committee accepts the governance committee risk update. Seconder.
Yep.
Thank you, Marianne. Any questions for Glenys? In which case, Glenys, I have two. Just so happens. The first one is, and I don't know that this is specifically risk as such, although it does relate to work done, and we talked about how we tidied up the park and did a whole lot of mulching and clearing out. But I noted that there was still an awful lot of wattle and gorse in situ, not taken out right beside the path all the way down. So, as I say, I'm not sure that it's part of the risk side of things, but it is a reputational risk, and it's a presentation risk. So would you like to comment on that?
Probably not Glynis's area.
No, it's not.
What I'm saying is that we need to have an infrastructure asset manager over here attending
Yes,
on a weekly basis.
absolutely.
You know, for you to actually can actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
It needs to be monitored and
Definitely
noted.
support that.
So if we can note that.
And very conscious of your comment, and there are injury risks with gorse and so on. There's a huge amount of gorse still, and that's way down the list of things to be dealt with.
So could we note that requirement is that, the asset manager for the park to, be in attendance and actually attendance over here so we can walk through these situations with them physically.
I think that's very helpful to do occasionally.
Yeah.
And very happy to be involved in that.
Glynis, have you gone? She has.
Through the chair, I have actually noted that, so I can pass that on for you.
Thank you, Jenny. Look, the other one I've got is the shared path, the erosion stability issues. Jenny, I'll pass this through to you. Around that part of the path by the Flying Fox. Now, I don't know, I'm no engineer, but it's sort of been boarded off for quite some time. Are we going to get on and I mean, I don't know that it needs a hell of a lot of work done to it, but let's make it useful and usable.
Yes. Okay, I'll follow that up as well. That did come up in our pre-start meeting yesterday, just in terms of what was happening with that area. So I will go away and get some information for you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll also take up the matter of having the asset manager do a walk around with us, with the CEO. So there we are, righto. So we're all stood down, we've asked questions. Mover's statement, I think that was me. I have nothing further to add. Seconder statement. Marianne, anything else?
The only thing that was just raised with the notion of health and safety walkthrough, I was just wondering, does that include the wastewater system area as well?
Well,
I'm just thinking of some of the comments about odour and various other things that it was just,
well, I
imagine.
believe that is, I think it's fair to say that is a different sphere. So that's infrastructure, and really infrastructure under Nana has control on that. And I mean, we can ask for comments and that. I mean, there is comments in here about the odour.
Yeah, that's fine. If there was more clarity, if it's a walkthrough for a very limited part of the park, then it's quite good just to be clear about which part you are walking through from health and safety, Dennis.
Well, I think that the other clarity point is probably worthwhile making, that actually the wastewater treatment plant is not, whilst it is in the park, is not really our area of responsibility or cover. That would absolutely be, and that's why it is protected with fence and all that. So, we wouldn't, it's not going to move from there. It's always going to be there, in whatever form. Okay. Thank you, Marianne. Anybody else wish to speak? No. So I have nothing further to add. So we will pass to the committee to note that we just get the words. The notes of the Mangawhai Community Park Governance Committee risk update is received. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Glenys. I think Glenys is gone. So now we move to item 5, Mangawhai Community Park Master Plan deliberations. And we'll welcome to the table Mark Schurz from Dargaville today.
I am.
Good morning.
Okay, so I'll take my report as read, and
Yes,
if you would, if we start working through the table there, which has the list of submission points, and if we can try and record your direction against each point. So I'll be here to take notes and assist with any questions you have.
Okay, mate, what I'll do is, because there's quite a lot to go through this, so I will seek a mover and a seconder for this. Mary Ann will move, I'll second. Righto, Mark, you lead away.
Okay, so the first one we've got here is commercial development. And we received a number, quite a bit of feedback on this one. I think probably the key thing with this might be to clarify what is meant by commercial development. Because it's quite a wide term, and I've heard things like council offices referred to, which could almost be considered like civic or corporate. So if we can get maybe a bit of clarity on what direction you're wanting there, and I'll record that.
Well, if I may lead off on that one, and following on from a good meeting that was held last week regarding community hubs, and we clearly differentiated between community hub and council buildings, or as you say there, civic facility. So I think that we should start to separate the two, and at this stage anyway, by way of that meeting, the community hub would be a separate facility, probably, but not definitely, at Ivan Ehrlich Park. But what we have to consider in the Mangawhai Community Park is a civic facility for council officers and whatever that might include. So I think that's a worthwhile differentiation. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, can you just, what were you saying would be in Ehrlich Park?
A community hub. I can share, I mean, look, nothing has been designed at all yet, but trying to, we talked about how there's a lot of confusion in the market about what a community hub is and what it might include and things like that, and in fact where it should be. So I'll share this here. This is something that we found a couple of months ago on a trip down, more than a couple of months, because the library's always been talked about as being part of a community hub and meeting rooms, etc. So we've just used this as an example. This is at Omokoroa, and it's what they call the Omokoroa Sports Pavilion and Library. So it has a whole lot of community facilities, meeting rooms, AV projection, all sorts. So that has been sort of tabled as an idea to have with changing rooms, etc., if we were to build a facility at Ivan Ehrlich Park. But at the moment, incorporating the library, right? So that separate community hub you go to, versus very different function of a civic building. So I'll share that around. So you can have a look at that. And there's various backgrounders on what's available in that Mangawhai facility. I mean, it's a very new thing and it's just an idea for us to look at and consider. Mr. Mayor.
Mark, could you give me what's the total area of the park?
I don't have that. So I don't have the total land area of the park in front of me here. I have to go and look that up.
It'll be
Sorry?
in the,
30.
Through the chair, it's 33 hectares.
33 hectares. It's a substantial area of land, isn't it? Yeah.
So coming back through the chair,
Yep.
coming back to this is about
Yep.
commercial development.
Yep.
So overall, are you saying that in terms of commercial development, the committee knows about the civic offices being there and any other commercial development would be appropriate for the site? So you're not looking for total retail like Mangawhai Central, but there could be some other retail, some other commercial provider for it's appropriate in the park.
I think that is, well, I mean, I take the consensus from our members, and I think that Mark is also looking for some guidance as to what we might think might be acceptable. But in general, I agree with what Sue said, is that we're not looking for all-on retail or anything like that. That's a Mangawhai Central, and that's exactly what that should be. The essence of Mangawhai Community Park is that it is there as a community recreational facility, and we have small elements of retail that relate to the infrastructure that is there in the park, and that's where we've talked about this in moving forward. Daniel.
I would just like to say that I think we need to be careful with that area, because even something, this document mentions Cafe Maz specifically, which is the Maz Committee's only stream of revenue. It is the only way they make money. So if we were the cafe next to the fire station or wherever it goes, I imagine the museum's in a similar position where they're quite reliant on their cafe. So we need to look at not taking that revenue away from areas like that. And I would also like to see if that area is built up, maybe have a sports shop, because that kind of ties into the community park. If that business is paying rent for that area, I would personally like to see that rent is put back into the community park. Entities like Pioneer Village, Maz, I think these entities should start helping the park they sit within, including the current ones that are there.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I agree with that too. I think, in years to come, you could even have some like hiring or, things that complement, and like you were saying, that it's not closed off for that cafe to grow and to perhaps, be more permanent, have a building, it fits in with everything, and it's, it complements, and like you say about the only revenue stream, recognise that is actually really important for the maintenance and the ongoing scope of the park. So I don't think we want to completely close that off.
No. And
Absolutely.
And I think that, again, to give guidance for Mark, I mean, to me, I'd love to help the hospitality, the Mangawhai Community Opportunity Trust, but I'm just not sure that is right in the park. But I do concede that, in line with what we've already written about future commercial considerations, that something aligned with, whether it be incorporated in with the Maz Cafe Maz, but a shop that actually had repairs for bikes skateboards, maybe sold some safety gear, helmets, knee braces, etc. I don't think that that would be out of kilter with because it is tied in with that infrastructure. I can't really conceive more in the way of commercial enterprise that you would allow there. But let's remember that this started out, the review of the commercial, when we started talking about there being a civic centre, a council building in there. And, you know, if you have 120 odd people in there, was there a need for a CAF, you know, something in there? Well, probably the extreme would be a creche, because there'll be other creches around, there are plenty around Mangawhai. But, yeah, I mean, we don't want to restrict the options that might really enhance the civic centre ultimately. And we're talking 10 years' time, a lot of things will change. So I think that we're keen to have an open view. Ultimately, it'll all come back to approval by council through our recommendations. And so I think that we want to take a cautious approach, but a relevant one. And I think that the most relevance is given to the Maz area. Look, for instance, if you go back, we're going to have, when the Dairy Trust comes in, we're still to find out what sort of form all of that will be. But there is a commercial aspect to all of that, as there is with the museum now, you know, in terms of entry fees and things like that. So we're not going to close off all the options.
No, there has to be.
Yeah.
Sorry, is Mark going to complete his thing and we ask him questions and then we go to statements? Or?
Well, I think that Mark wants us just to go through. He's going to.
Okay, yeah. Running a meeting, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark's asked us to provide him feedback and anything specific that we want to either leave in, add, or take out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some wording here I'd like to change on page 12 regarding some of the wording that's in there.
I'll come to that because I've got it all typed down.
Okay. So, yeah, I think the other thing we need to remember, we've got to be mindful of the fact that we've actually still got quite a bit of commercial activity in there already. You know, if you look at the, you know, the club, you know, you've got a bar and a kitchen there, you've got the Mangawhai Golf Club, you've got the same situation, you've got a bar, restaurant and a pro shop, you've got, you know, emergency services, Fens and St John. I mean, I don't know whether you'd class them as or not, but obviously there's an element of that is.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's about being sympathetic to what goes in there, but I don't think we need to be cutting the opportunity out to put good stuff in there, you know?
Absolutely.
And I suppose the frame of it is really it's social investment. And when you look at the club with its very large membership and the golf club the same, I mean, these organisations, those two probably cover 3,000 people in terms of members.
Oh.
And the contribution they make to the well-being of the community and safe places for people to connect and exercise and so on are wonderful.
That's why I asked the question about how big is the park. It's 33 hectares.
You're talking about Mangawhai Community Park or?
Well, the whole area. No, not over there. I'm talking about up by this.
Oh, I think, Jenny, forgive me if I'm wrong here. I thought that the overall Mangawhai Community Park, including golf course, is something more like 56 hectares.
Of course it would be.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so the master plan only relates to the Mangawhai Community Park.
That's right.
Not to the golf course. The golf course is a recreation reserve, so it has to be covered under a reserve management plan.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it is an important point to remember that, you know, for this, that the golf course is under separate title, as is the club. So, you know, they are handled different with their licenses to occupy. So they are handled as separate entities.
and again, if I might just say, both of them contribute a lot giving back to the community,
I'll cover that specifically.
as well as all the social stuff.
There is something that was raised on one of these points, where, let me just find it, if I may, that I want to address specifically.
I think it was about the Mangawhai Club and the Mangawhai Golf Club.
Golf club contributing more.
Yeah.
I just play a devil's advocate while you're looking for it and say that you say the club and the golf club give back to the community. We essentially have two massive commercial entities within the community park right now who give next to nothing, if not nothing, to the community park itself. And so the club and golf club. So I would like to see a future model. If we're looking at a commercial zone by the fire station, for instance, and the policy is whatever commercial operation, we need to make sure it goes back into the community park. There's sort of a failing model of that in my eyes already, because we have charitable trusts within that area scrambling for money and asking for targeted rates, and then we have two highly profitable businesses who may help the outside community, but I think maybe their focus should start to turn more inward to the parks that they occupy.
Well, look, I was going to raise that later on, and so I'll do a retort on that, and quite strongly. It's very easy, as one submitter did submit, say that, the golf course, made $300,000 last year. I don't know how much the club made. They should contribute more to the community. Well, the truth is, and I've said many times that, and I'll use the example, and I got the latest update, and I'll make this for reference. Yesterday afternoon, the general manager did a check and came up with had a figure of $998,000 that the golf course contributed directly to the economy of this community, annual. So I think that it's a misnomer to suggest that they do not, and the club will be exactly the same, that they do not contribute. They contribute hugely across a raft of areas where they invest.
Well, I would ask is, that's great, but how much of that 900,000 went into the community park? For instance, if that money went into the community park, not the wider community, would the museum find it necessary to approach council for something like targeted rates? Possibly they wouldn't need to, because the park has a huge commercial entity that can help other areas of the park.
I don't know that it is, and again, it might be something for another conversation, and we're more than welcome to have our view, and I'm interested to hear what you all think. But my point is that in this situation, they're both legal entities. They actually, you take the case of the golf club. Their best way of funding is to provide the likes of the charity fundraisers, events. We've done it very successfully with the school, with the museum in recent times. We've just done the Heartlands Trust, is another one, good amounts of money. We've done them over the years, or endeavoured to do them, for the surf club. So there are ways that I think, I don't believe it's a matter of just an entity paying cash out. I think that it's a matter of how they can tangibly support through their modus operandi. So in the case of the golf club, that's doing a charity fundraiser. You get the whole community, you get the participating group. And for the record, over the years of my own involvement, we raised $380,000 for community groups. So, it can be a lot bigger than just the park. And I don't think that random support such as that will take away from the need for us to look at and consider support, as a council point of view, support for some facilities that maybe just aren't able to generate the income that they need. So, I mean, that's just an overview. We're not helping Mark, probably.
Yeah, so through the chair, so, you know, how the value of these activities could be captured, you know, whether it be through payment of a rental or percentage of funds, etc.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Right. You can't hear me, sorry. So how these entities could provide funds back into the park, whether it be through a rental or whether a percentage of their profits or takings, or events that they contribute to, etc. That's something which we can work out at the licensed to occupy stage.
Yeah.
The key thing to capture here is what kind of activities would we be open to establish within the park. For example, so far I've got 4 elements of retail related to what's in the park, possibly a sports shop, maintain cafes,
Yep.
a council office, potentially a creche, not wanting to be restrictive, and proceed to go back into the park, the mechanism which can be worked out at a later date. Does that capture, is there a consensus on that? Is that what the committee is thinking?
Well, it's just got to be relative through to the park, and they're just examples.
Yeah.
Something else could come up that we say, that's perfect. Like Daniel was saying, sports, some sports recreation.
Repair shop, that sort of thing, you know, for mayors, you know, I mean, and I think that what you've covered in that is sufficiently broad to acknowledge that opportunity, and that's where you want to keep it, wasn't it, Mark?
Okay, do we have a consensus on that, team?
We have consensus. Well,
Just read your list again.
we don't vote at every item.
Through the chair, I do need to take.
Mark wants to speak back.
Agree to.
I think Daniel raises a relevant point about funding, but I think with clubs, there's a lot of members in both clubs, right? The golf club and the club. And I think there's a lot of goodwill in the community to raise money for mayors. Everyone values it.
Yep.
So, and that could be a hell of a lot more than trying to, you know, demand money, rather than do that, have them keep ourselves in their mind when they consider what fundraising they're going to do during the course of the year. And if we had a good fundraiser out of them, you know, out of each one twice a year, it's going to be a significant amount of money, hopefully.
For the official.
Yeah, I think it's just having that communication so that we can kind of work together with
Sometimes
raising initiatives for the park. And
yeah, I think it's an important thing that that communications thing that creates
Oh, absolutely.
goodwill, and that you know, like a tournament could be run. I don't know. I don't run the golf club, but you know what I mean. A specific fundraiser every year or two would be fantastic. Clubs.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mary.
I think though that kind of idea is very good, and with the friends we will work with both organisations, the club and the golf club, to see if we can have something that's an annual fundraising year for the park.
Yeah, it could be.
Of which some obviously would be going to mayors. The other thing we've been concerned about is the insurance. We're trying to work on something that might consolidate the insurance, because now that's enormous for most of those organisations. And I think the notion of the opportunity factory actually running something that had second-hand sports clothing and had a repair shop and so on, I think that kind of thing is really strong community stuff that would be really valuable.
I think too, the opportunity factory in particular, at least with MAS, I can't speak for the other entities within the park, but they've given thousands
yeah, they do.
dollars towards MAS, and I think they would be applicable even if it was just the current opportunity factory, because that money is being fed
Absolutely.
quite often back into the
Absolutely.
park.
So,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't discount them.
okay, so there's a point. I mean, as a consensus, are we saying that we would agree to consider the opportunity shop being housed inside the park?
And it might be part of it, just the same as maybe Defy, the golf club raised $30,000 so that the Defy could get a youth worker, and a lot of that is to do with the same things that overlap with MAS.
Yeah.
But limited elements of that, it mightn't be the whole opportunity factory, but something that really focuses on sports gear and helmets and safety and all sorts of things could be really good.
So through the chair, so the answer that you're looking for is something that's pertinent to the park
Yep.
and has some relativity to
Yes.
the recreation that's occurring in the park, along with civic officers.
Yep.
I think there's another word in there, pertinent to the park and the community.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that that's what we'd written in. I can't find it just at the moment, but we'd already added something to the master plan at an earlier stage about future because it came up in the hearings. And I just can't find the right wording at the moment, but it did relate to relevant infrastructure, etc. So I think that those, Mark, I think that those are words that we used in the submissions are key. And you've got other additions here where, you know, the team here are quite happy to consider within that realm the likes of facility for the opportunity shop and something for the MAS skate park.
Yeah, very good. I think it gives me a bit to go on there in terms of
All right.
the thinking is. So we can move on to the next point if you're
Okay,
comfortable.
so the next point is Mertz Hut.
Should be quite simple.
Okay.
Oh, we're not going through the things, isn't it?
We just go through each section. So any
Yeah, so-
questions, any comments on that Mertz Hut area? Now, Marianne, I think you had a comment this morning on that. Yeah?
My comment was that we've strengthened Mertz to the detriment of also including kauri gum collectors, diggers, and would like to, rather than call it Mertz Hut area, and I think this relates to about 3 comments in the
Yeah.
that were received as well, that there's a recommendation through the Friends that would suggest that we call it the kauri gum / Mertz Hut area or something like that, so that we actually combine that, don't overemphasise Mertz as a squatter, but also honour the memory and some of the stories of the kauri gum collectors as well.
But as I understand it, Mark, is that we've got, and the team have had surveyed the designated area over by the entrance to the treatment plant for where the Mertz Hut was. Right, and all it's going to be
Yes,
done.
but he purchased the hut off a gum digger.
Yeah, okay, all right. So, I mean, do you have an issue with the, you know, referencing both words in there, gum digger and Mertz Hut?
No, so from a staff perspective, the project here is to create a car park. At the moment, there's a bit of driveway there. There's up to the treatment plant. There's an area which has been cleared, and there's, you know, quite a bit of fill and earth has been moved around in there. And you know, the project would essentially be to reshape the area. It's a place where you can park up, take the dog out of the car, and go for a walk.
Okay, so
and whether if we commemorate, you know, Mertz or the gum digger preceded him, whatever we do in that space, that's something which we can work with through the community. There's quite an active group that's trying to commemorate Mr.
but I
Mertz.
think the suggestion is that not picnic area anymore over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, maybe remove the reference to picnicking. That's not to
Yeah.
say that people can't have a picnic there. It's just maybe we remove the focus. given the proximity to the wastewater treatment plant and some of the concerns raised over odour, we maybe remove that focus. But people could still choose to do that there if they nice to have that choice to do that.
And if,
Can I just?
yep, Rachel.
Yeah, and look, just noting through the submissions, that there were a lot of the residents down there who weren't, they raised a lot of issues and weren't comfortable with what was, necessarily proposed. So in regard to the car park, there was issues with the wetland and different things. Is there scope there, if there was a design and more work done on that, that you would have more, I guess you'd go back to the residents, you'd consult again and show them what was proposed, just as a way forward, because there was a lot of people that weren't too happy with the proposal.
Well,
Yeah, so they've raised a number of issues there. The way this works is the master plan sets the direction, which says we want to utilise this area of the park, and then you have to go into your sort of more detailed design of so how would we actually lay out the car park? How would we integrate that into that area? And there's a lot of questions which need to be worked through then around ecology, which they've raised concerns over. There's the concern about the traffic on that on the road, and there's also potentially further subdivisions that might go in there, and again, the capacity of the road and traffic get raised through that. So there's things which need to be worked through. It's just whether if we say in terms of the use of the park, whether we say this area should be fully planted up as trees, or whether it should be turned into car parking, or if we should say it should be an area, grassy area, or an area where clubs could establish. It's around what's the direction for that space in the park, and then the details around how we could achieve that and what other works would be required to enable that. That's something we have to work through.
Yeah, see, I mean, from what you've done, from my point of view, what you've raised there, I mean, the two things that came out for me was that the residents had concerns about traffic volumes, and you've alluded to a significant subdivision that's going in down off Ivy Lane now, just truckloads of sand going over in there. We don't know what the capacity is of that at the moment, but it was noted that the residents were concerned about the volumes, and there is no footpath, there is no access from a car park. So to me, there's got to be a linkage there. If we're going to do a car park, we've got to provide safe access to the museum area of the park.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Can I just maybe harden your statement a little bit and say that from what I heard from Thelma Road residents, they didn't have concerns. They seemed to genuinely think it was a bad idea. And it wasn't just the sidewalk was a big issue for the parking lot, but they wanted locked gates, a staff member to unlock it, lock it every night for security reasons, possible CCTV. It seems for the cost of this section of the long-term plan and the Thelma Road residents really not thinking it's a great idea, my takeaway from reading and hearing all that feedback from those residents was that money could be put into improving current parking in areas of the park that, it just doesn't seem to me worthwhile trying to make it all work at this point, because it's a huge expense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will only increase as it goes along. We'll realise, we need new drainage and new sewers and all the rest.
And look, somewhere along the line, I think council are going to be faced with having to do something with down Thelma Road North, and whether it be footpaths and all that. But I take it on board what you say, Daniel, and I think that our direction should be is that preference based on submitters' response is to not do a car park in there, and for the council to look at other areas of the park where we are either new or expanded car parking resource.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And there is one ideal place that's up the top, the back of the golf club and the club. which is potential.
That's something that could go on the back burner anyway, if we did want to put a car park in there, because you don't see a lot of traffic use down there. I walk through there regularly myself.
Yeah.
And it's not a focal point of the park, as it is now.
But it is right.
It also, we have, Maz, for instance, has a good amount of parking. And if more of those roadside mounds along Molesworth Drive one day were levelled, there would be more parking opportunity there. And I think sealing those areas would improve the parking, even for the museum and the club. And yeah, there would be good parking there.
I think we have plans.
The other thing to remember too is no point trying to provide parking for the maximum parking you'll get in a year, because there'll never be enough parking for major events anyway, right?
No, it's not.
You're going to have times when people are going to be parked all over the place.
Yeah.
For 95% of the time, what you're saying is the parking is adequate. Yeah.
It could be adequate. Yeah.
It could be adequate.
It could be.
It's not adequate.
It can be improved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to pick up, so have you got enough on that particular item, Kelly and Mark?
No, still lacking some clarity there. So with respect to the car parking improvement or optimization around the park, so that's included in the master plan, those other areas. Specifically for the Mertz Hut area, or whatever we call it, what do we see as being the vision? Because you've got so far reforming that vehicle access off South Road and creating some car parking. Are we still wanting to do that, or are we wanting to not have vehicle or have to vehicle access? What do we envisage for that area? Do we want to just plant the area up and include a bit of wayfinding signage regarding the huts?
Mr. Mayor.
I just want to understand how it all works down there, because at the moment, back the south end of the museum, there's, it's a construction depot basically, all the machines, and which is great. They have somewhere to operate from. When they leave, because of the nature of that ground there, which is, let's face it, it's basically sand, hard sand, whatever you call that stuff. Kind of metal over there becomes a car park anyway, doesn't it? Always has been.
Yeah.
It's like a flow over. So when that's tidied up, it'll do the same thing that's done for a long time. It doesn't need specific parking facilities built, you know what I mean?
No. Well, and I'm not sure that there isn't more area adjacent to the museum. Down that bottom area. I know that there's a wetland down there, and Mark, you might know more about that. But I think that what we've said is for council to consider other options rather than just that area for car park, for more car parking space.
I think in the short term, we should leave it alone, because they're going to be moving the dairying. There's renovations going to be done for that. That whole area is going to be like a little bit of a pick and go construction zone for a while, and then it'll sort itself out, or we have another plan at that time.
Yep.
Through the chair, can I just say the area that you're talking about is actually part of the license to occupy for the museum. So they have subleased to Downers until November to use it as a overflow area for their construction. But the actual car park is all part of the museum's license to occupy.
Okay.
And it's also a separate area that's part of what we put in.
Yeah, we're not talking the same areas, but what I'm saying is that provides a heap of parking when it's finished.
Yep.
And you can't stop the public parking in there when they want to go up to the skate park, because there's already too much parking taken up there,
No, I think that, Mark, what the mayor has suggested here, if I'm hearing correctly, is that, well, still, council can consider other areas, but right now the priority is to make the most of what we've got. And let's get the projects like the Deering out of the way, done, established, so we know exactly what we've got, and we can look to the future then to say where there should be other car parking areas. We already have more capacity with car parks around Mangawhai Community Park that have not been worked on.
Exactly.
Right?
Like you say, the
So-
surface.
We happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah, so in 10 years' time, if I'm standing at the site of the Mertz Hut, what am I seeing? Am I seeing just forest around me? Am I seeing maybe 2 car parks where I can park the car? Am I seeing a lock gate saying this is a wastewater treatment plant area? Just a walking track through? What is this area going to look like in 10 years' time?
You're talking specifically that area down where
Specifically that area, essentially between where you turn off from Thelma Road up to the wastewater treatment plant, that area.
Are we not beating around the bush of just scrapping this whole section of the long-term plan? We don't want the car park, we don't want the gate, the council doesn't have Thelma Road facilities, we don't want to do anything until the Daring's been moved, and to me, from what we've just said, we're removing the picnic area, we're changing the name, we're not building a parking lot, so why would we have this section in the plan at this point?
That's a good question. Just park that in a second, because I got a thought on that, Miriam.
There have been requests for a dog walking area for some time, and that does seem one of those areas which wouldn't need a lot of parking. And we're not only looking the next 3 or 10 years, I mean, we're really looking 50 years ahead. So it would be relevant to say there may be potential for some development in that area over the longer term.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't think we should exclude it altogether, but the potential is long-term, not in immediate.
and I agree, the point about the dog walking, or just, is there another part of the park that hasn't been developed that could be a green space, a la dog walking, kids in there, frisbee throwing, not a big recreational area, anything like that, but just something in the middle of the park that you could access, because right now there is nothing planned in any way to really exercise that car park area other than back to the museum and the historic village, and then ultimately up through to Maz. So do we see that as being the only potential car park area to facilitate growth, which is really, I think, where Mark's getting at, in which case it's got to still be considered as a car park, or is there another area that we could utilise that would take us further into the park for the likes of a dog walking area, or could that be accessed off that area down there? Now, I don't know what the answers are on that, Mark, but they're questions for you to have a look at. Is there the option to look at accessing a dog exercise area out of that area of the Thelma Road North Car Park, or can that come off another area of the park? If we're going to do that. I mean,
Have it as a consideration for the future.
yeah, it is a consideration.
Anything else that's going to happen in there?
Exactly.
Just for clarity on the Mertz Hut area. So would there still be a walkway through around that area too, like you were saying, with a board there to, talk about that was the area that the hut was at, even though it's in the historical village. So there would still be a walkway in there as a starter.
Well, you see, that's what we're going to find. I mean, I think we should be saying is that ultimately, if there is anything there needs to be a walkway connecting the car park with the museum area, museum deering area of the park. Now, that's longer term, because to save people walking down Thelma Road. So if we are going to do it, so, I mean, again, we're going backwards and forwards here. So either, can I put it this way, Mark? If we are to consider a car park down there, it needs to be considered in terms of safety link to the museum deering area, right? And B, that's A, B is it possible to access a, for instance, dog exercise area further in the park from that location? So you give that location more purpose, I guess, really. But there's definitely going to be a need to connect either a footpath or a new walkway from that car park. So that's your future. If you're going to do it, what are your connections and what are your options for a dog exercise area?
Yep, I think that gives me enough to go on. If there's a consensus on that.
Yep. Daniel, do you have something to add to that?
I was just going to ask if maybe there should just be a clause added to this section when it comes to something like a car park, that if maybe it happens in 50 years, but it's not to be looked at until Thelma Road is sufficiently upgraded with sidewalks or whatever they need.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that, yeah.
Yes, that, yeah.
Right, so there's definitely the issue of safe connectivity along Thelma Road. The point 7 was here said it was said that the proposed area of open water for model sailboats was a nice to have, not really necessary. Now, I mean, the point that I've made to that, I've thought that something like that in there, utilising wetland areas and all that, might be great in the past. But is there a club? Is there interest? I mean, I think that, again, this is something that the community should lead, and our leading on this one would be nice to have, but not really necessary. Let's see if there is interest in the community, if there is a club, something like that, well, let that be the driver.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to safety too, and having open that you've got, it's coming to. So I mean, it just has to be that consideration there with the safety for anything like that, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want the reference to that to stay in the master plan, or do you want to just take it out, given we've got the harbour and everything as well?
Well, I think that my point there, that's point 7, right, on the model boats.
Yes.
I think let the community lead that in the future. I mean, is there a club? I think that there was only one comment raised about it, and I tend to agree with the point that's there. Nice to have and not really necessary.
Not there.
Do you want me to just be silent on it with the plan then?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not prevent it and not enable it? Yep.
No, I would go further to say is that any future initiative in this area should be led by an interested community group, club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, it could be a nice addition to the park, to the amenity.
Is it?
Yeah, but if nobody's going to drive it, there's no point us thinking about it. Point 9, one submitter asked that this area include toilets and barbecues. Well, I think that between the museum, bars, etc., we've got in the cafes, we've got toilets.
Well, there are two toilets at the main Mayor's car park entrance, and they're disability accessible as well. So we do have the facilities there at the moment.
So when we have things like Christmas parades and stuff, do we bring in extra toilets on the day? Do we do that sort of thing?
Correct, yes,
Yep, yep.
have
You
portable,
got your portables.
yes.
I think there was talk of another
Yeah.
toilet block going in at MAS. Maybe last year I caught wind of that. Because it's not uncommon at MAS even this time of year to have a line up out the front of those toilets. There's only 2 of them and there's hundreds of people there a day. And from memory, I think they were talking about putting it more cafe skate park end of MAS. But I don't know whatever happened to that. It was just
I don't
ADC rumour that
I don't recall
made it.
Are they unisex toilets or isn't it?
They are, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, and then for things like bowl bash and stuff, they do put porta potties next to them. But I know a lot of the tradies around there too, like all of those road workers, they're all using
Yeah.
the MAS toilets. A lot of the industrial area across the road, they're all using the MAS toilets. So they're heavily used. So I wouldn't discount the option for more toilets in the park. Yeah.
Yep, well, I mean, I think that it's there to note. I mean, you've got the temporary facility for events, and I don't think we need to worry about it. I don't think we need to be worried about specific events. And it's just a matter of being cognizant about the need as demand grows for the park.
I think those toilets that are there now, would you see the need, if you had more toilets, to have them in a separate spot? Do you think that's a good central spot for everybody?
I think it's a good spot. Yeah, I wouldn't say that you'd have to have them at another location, but maybe 2 more added to them. I mean, that's when,
We could look at, retrofitting them with more toilets, basically.
yeah, essentially. And you've got the water connectivity and the power, you don't have to do a bunch of other stuff.
It makes sense to have it in that same area.
Building more pens, basically.
Yeah.
Although just, Mr Chairman, can I say, thinking about some of the other parks that are well used in other parts of the region, it sounds quite concerning if contractors and people from over the road in some of the industrial area are using those toilets. So that maybe needs to be monitored more, and presumably the contractors must have to.
Don't monitor that because I'm one of them.
They were really convenient to stop because people could park their vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was running my concrete crew, that's where they all stopped on their way to work to do their thing before they came.
Yeah, they're public toilets at the end of the day, no different to the ones here in
That's right.
Hammers.
Yep.
Yeah, the public want to use them.
They're used because they're well located.
Yep. You're not going to stop them.
On that basis, maybe there does need to be an addition to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would think that, do we leave it as open for Mark as to say is that we just need to constantly, we need to keep surveillance on the need for additional toilet facilities in the park based on demand.
Additional public toilet facilities.
Yeah.
Our other option would be to preemptively tackle that. We know the park's not getting less popular. We know the toilets are used constantly now. So if we wait and it takes 5 or 6 months to build a toilet extension, is that not something we could look at in the immediate future?
Well, I guess I'm at that point, to evaluate what the best area. I mean, we don't know what the likes of the Deering facility will make to the museum. Now, so you've got the new toilets that have been built there in the historic village, and you've got toilets in the museum. So, I mean, there is quite a lot. You've only got it might be that it is MAS that is the area. I don't know whether ultimately with the civic building, whether, there'd be, I don't imagine there'd be public toilets there, but there might be something associated with that. But that's really just a walking area. It's the active zone, and to me, MAS is going to be the important spot for that.
Yeah, and I think it could be done yesterday. So it seems strange to me to have a provision of, yeah, well, let's monitor the toilets when we know that they're used constantly. There's a line out the front. What are we monitoring?
I mean, it could be something that would need to be looked at in the next LTP, not necessarily, you know, we're going to be signing off on what the work we've already done. So that could be, you know, it would, I don't think we could just do it overnight.
I just recommend that there's an assessment done going forward.
Going forward,
And funds, you know.
consideration in the next LTP.
As part of that assessment, Daniel, would be, would we recommend, it's not necessarily something we have the expertise to do now here. Would you be wanting to expand those current toilets or put new ones in somewhere else, or both? You know?
Yep.
Can I just ask for clarity, are the current public toilets within the mayor's licensed to occupy area, or?
No, they're council land.
No, they're not, okay, so they're very clearly public toilets used by anybody, and it's the parking that makes it, and I agree with you, there are often queues, yeah.
Yep, okay, well, I mean,
So it does need to be looked
So we need to flag that as an upgrade as
and
funds and time, you know, timing and the funding.
I think Sue would be the first to say is that toilets are not an inexpensive.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they are a huge expense. So I suppose we'd be looking at that through the water usage, because that's how you monitor it. It's,
Okay,
I suppose,
yeah.
I don't know, we'd have to think about how we
You can put use counters on them as well. But yeah, observations of people queuing is a big thing too. So point number 9 there is with respect to the Mertz area. So the answer there would be no, giving you feedback, we don't want to do a lot in that area. So no to toilet there, but picking up your wider point that is maybe the capacity around Maz is growing in popularity. Now the civic hub, whatever's going to go into that space, might resolve that. It might include toilets. The Mangawhai Public Library, for example, has toilets.
Sorry, Mark, again, you're not coming through very clearly.
You might need
Sorry,
to.
not coming through very clear.
No, we can't hear
Sorry,
you. Mark.
you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
That's
Yeah,
better.
can you hear now? Yeah.
Okay, so given that the point is with respect to the MERS hut area, and given your feedback on the MERS hut area generally, I'm thinking that that's not an area where we want to have public toilets.
No.
And picking up on your point that there may be a lack of capacity in public toilets, particularly in the MAS area.
Yep.
And then that is something which we can look at addressing, and it might be that that's done through the new civic building, that might include toilets which are open to the public. It might be that we need to assisting with a new 4-pan unit, or it might be that we add another 2-pan unit near to it, maybe on the other side of the playground or something.
Yep.
So that's something we can look at going.
And consider a next round of LTP. All right, so.
Comments that we've been making indicate that that would be associated with 1 or 2 5-minute parks or something like that. It's not mares. I mean, it sounds like it's so much use by lots of other people as well.
Yeah,
We upgraded the car park and the seating and
see, I don't think that there's any more car parking area really down near Mares unless, as you say, it's on the roadside, which would be a safety matter.
Yeah, the only other area I wondered about was because there was an access track cut in from between the new bowl and the museum. And that ran down to where all those trees were felled on that bank. And I don't know if that was specifically cut in to fell those trees, but there is potential for parking by our junior pump track down the bottom of the soccer field.
Okay.
There is road access there, it's been made. And there's a lot of land there, which I don't believe is part of Maz's LTO. And it might even help with the gorse and the acacia issue as well, to clear a little bit of that and have an
But that's a good consideration. Just on, I don't know whether you heard that, Mark, what Daniel said, that there is potential car park area, a little bit more internal in the park, beyond the football?
Yeah, it would be at the southern end of the Maz soccer field by the junior pump track.
Yep.
And I think there was also consideration there because events like the Christmas parade,
Yep.
they ultimately wind up on that soccer field. They have the carols, the big stage set up, and they need to get speakers and gear and stuff. And so that road would actually give access to that area, which is the event centre, basically.
So that's another option for you for car parking.
Through the chair, could I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly.
just that area, there's no access, so the shared path runs behind the new skate bowl and then down past the junior pump track. So I'm not sure where you mean, Daniel, because on the other side of the junior pump track, there's actually no physical access over that way for vehicles.
There was, that's where the trucks were coming in for all that tree felling. It was made for vehicles. I believe now maybe it was the gate that the builders of the new bowl are using, but
Yes. So
you
where the new
remember when-
bowl is, so where the new
Yeah.
bowl is where there used to be an access way before the shared path went through the park. But now that the bowl is there and the shared path is there, there's no access way into that area.
that entry. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I remember when our little bowl was filled with water, that was
Yes.
a result of a road being cut through there and it had cut a pipe,
Yeah.
which the kids then used to fill it. So that would make sense. It was that gate. I have seen a drawing, a plan somewhere of Maz with an internal car park
Yeah.
by the junior pump track. And I don't know where I saw it, but it has been drawn in the past.
Well, can we leave that as a consideration? I mean, is there a configuration that we could create that there could be the potential of a more internal car park at the south end of Maz?
Jenny is right, though, that it would cross the shared path. If it was created, it would cut across. You would need a crossing or something in there. Yeah, that might be an issue.
Yeah. Well, it might be an issue. It's a consideration.
Yeah, I'm quite keen to get quite keen to get in or out rather than investigate or consider. Yeah, Jenny, I mean, you know the area much better than I do. You bring a roadway in paralleling that shared path, so you have to go parallel alongside that shared path, wouldn't it? There's enough width to do that.
It would have to, but it would have to come in.
Meaningful car parking.
It would have to come in through the, my only thought would be through the museum entrance, so up behind the historic village and somehow through there, but I'm not sure. It would be really difficult. And the other thing to think about, the second stage of this flood remediation stormwater is going through that, eventually will go through that area as well. So there's a lot of physical works that will still be taking place over the next few years in that area.
So if that's the case,
I'm looking at the aerial. I can't see enough space in there without paving over the soccer field to create a meaningful car park.
if I may just ask a question there, if there is going to be that stormwater remediation work done and going all the way through there, is that not the time to have a look at a roadway access into that part of the park?
Yeah, well, it would have to come either from the golf club or through the historic village.
Well, it'd have to come, I would have thought it'd have to come from below probably, but I mean, I'd leave it there that you've got the stormwater remediation going to happen. In tandem with that, is it worthy of considering roadway access into an additional car park in that area? Because that will satisfy the greater growth area of the park. That's the only point.
Just looking at the aerial, because your access would probably be around by Nautical Heights, right? The intersection between Molesworth Drive and Nautical Heights. And so you have to come in there, you have to parallel the shared path, And then I don't see enough land without paving over the soccer field really to create a meaningful sized car park. I think this might not. I think this one might not fly.
Well, look, I mean, I think that what we're down to talking about more car parking, space ultimately. And the suggestion had been made, Thelma Road North. We're basically putting that one back and asking, is there another area? And a suggestion has been made. I think that's really as far as we should go, and we leave it to council to come up with any thoughts. And hey, it might well be that nothing else happens. Although I'd be very surprised if somebody didn't get up there and have a look and say, we can double the space of the car park up above the golf club and the club. But on the other hand, somebody might say the only way of doing this is actually to get further into the park and create flat land there for car parking, which may be adjacent to, for instance, a dog exercise area. I don't know. But I mean, I think that what we've got to do is encourage and leave you clear, Mark, that we're wanting to encourage a view to, are we able to create more car parking somewhere more internal in the park at a later stage? Yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Now.
Yep, that's clear.
Now, no issues, I don't think, on ecology. Well, when we get to ecology, there's quite a lot of stuff here, but very good. I mean, we've just got to get stepping up the weed control, replanting with natives is supported. And I don't know that we need to, I mean, we can support Kauri or Ryu or Kanuka. I mean, Kanuka is known as being, the fast grower. So I don't know that we need to be more specific on that. I think the essence is there. Mary-Ann, did you?
Just before we leave, or it's in both Mertzhut area and ecology in the notes, we do still want to make sure that there is a walking access to the site where the gum diggers hut, Mertzhut hut,
Ultimately.
was, just so people can access it. It might be a mown track or something like that at the moment if there's.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I think that was, I mean, if it is decided that there is a car park down there, that it has to be, there had to be an access way. We talked about that.
Yes, I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not abandoning people's access to the original site where there will be a story, but it can be, it can be a narrow track. It doesn't have to be a big mown area.
I think the big issue there is going to be the maintenance and clearing of that area, so it's always.
Well, I mean, like everywhere else, there are volunteers, and I think it's very important through all of this to just recognise that there are thousands of hours of volunteer work goes into everything, so that is how it would be maintained once it's set up.
Have you got that, Mike?
Yep, I've got that one down.
Right, now, so I don't think we're going to disagree with the need for weed control and replanting with natives. On point 15 and 16, I have two elements that, I've spoken about, and I'm going to leave details with Kelly. But the first one, if I address 16, it was requested the wording on pages 12 and 13 be amended to be less restrictive for further development. I'll share these with everybody. This is what is proposed. Mr. Mayor, that one. Then, I got one there. And then point 15, and I'm going to table this as noting for the records It's not a submission as such. But this is a note from the very honourable Mr. Jim Wintle, this for the mayor, the team all around there, just talking about the difference between said to be areas of wetland, and particularly in the northeastern section of the park, right up the top, versus stormwater runoff. And there are two areas of stormwater runoff. One is on the left from the club car park, and you'll see all the pipes coming down there. That's where the water catchment is. And also, if you go across to the other side of Molesworth Drive, where Naja Nursery used to be, and more recently Bailey's, you'll see a huge sump, and it's all piped across underneath Molesworth Drive from that whole catchment. And of course, we've got a big new commercial development going in there, which will probably enhance the water collection. That comes across into that top part of the northeastern part of Mangawhai Park. So I think it's important that we're all cognizant of these things. Mark might well tell me that, there are rules around the wetland, and we need to work around that. But also we need to have consideration for what really is driving that or creating that wetter area. It's relevant for a new civic building, potentially. That's a big thing. But I think that the other point that we highlight in both those pieces is that it's relatively easy to mitigate and create a purpose-built wetland area, if we wanted to, up that northern part, down the side of the shared pathway, once buildings are all there, so there's more beautification, and replant the whole area. So it's not a matter of ignoring it, it's a matter of enhancing the area ultimately, and all the way down the shared path. And that would work in with stormwater about to be started. So I'll submit those and I'll email both of those to Kelly so she can include in on the, and Mark's already got a copy of both, I think. Have you got both of those, Mark?
Not the suggested word changes to the plan.
Okay, I'll email that to you. I'll email that to you and Kelly today.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. I'll review that. And otherwise, I've just sort of got here. My understanding is you wanting to retain the current focus on ecology the way it is in the plan currently, in terms of, do we make it stricter, do we make it more lenient? Thinking that the balance between development and ecology is currently about right.
Yep.
And the other one we've got here is stormwater management provisions for the master plan could be strengthened to better reflect these opportunities. There's opportunities to better manage and better use the land in the park to manage stormwater.
Did right. That can all be enhanced.
Very good. Okay.
All right. So anybody, anything else? So transport and mobility, we're getting through them slowly. So again, we've got the car park, improving car parking facilities, and I think we've got plans to seal, is that right, Mr. Mayor? We've got plans to seal the AS car park?
Pass.
No, I don't know whether Jenny knows what the plans are, whether Bart knows if we put anything in the LTP.
I think it's in the LTP.
I haven't got everything in my head for that, but
No, I haven't.
so I wouldn't make a statement that I don't.
Okay,
I'm not 100% sure of.
I think that general support for improving the walking tracks and again, that's a big volunteer basis. So, we're emphatically supportive of that. one submitter suggesting removing the high dune section between the two car parks entrances at Mares. I'm not sure what the logistics are on that, Jenny, whether there has been any previous conversation on that. Well, this has been investigated previously and not recommended, right? I don't know what the reasoning for that is.
And it was
Number 21.
Through the chair, that was around, we had a SEPDED report done. Yeah, that was from a safety point of view to keep it there for people going directly out onto the traffic.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it's a barrier for access to
Yes,
the busy Molesworth Drive.
yes.
Okay.
Can I just add, Mr Chair, there was also, or has also been raised, the safety of the tree or trees, and that particularly tall trees. Is there still a,
Norfolk's.
yeah.
that it wasn't a stable enough base? That was what I remember,
Stable enough base to what to
for those
keep?
trees to be safely there.
Well, if that was taken out.
You need,
No, I mean, we're going to take the word of experts here, as far as I'm concerned on that one. There is a request for more mountain bike tracks. Well,
That's going to happen through.
that's Lincoln Downs. So, I mean, I think that the general sense, Mark, is that this is not really a park for mountain bikes. That be correct?
Yeah, I believe there were some tracks made though, weren't there?
yes,
For mountain.
Big DIY effort in the back of Maz
Yeah.
between the water treatment facility. There's a lot of stuff being built in there. Yeah, so there's definitely a community of people that would like a mountain bike path.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to be there though. Yeah.
I think it's just that crossover with walking and having bikes. It would have to be really clear on what path to take.
Well, that's right, and the shared path allows you the option of riding bikes on there.
Yeah, I think this is.
So
supposed to be
both
the hill.
In the hill
Terms,
this is jumps and,
yeah, they're nutty.
well, there's jumps too.
Yeah, so
The comment is that to construct a mountain bike park at Lincoln Downs, Brown Road, this is considered more appropriate space for mountain biking.
I think
So, will we agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
There's a need for a bus roundabout was questioned.
That's just detailed design stuff.
Yeah, now, but that's right, we'll just leave that. Requested that sufficient mobility parking be provided near playgrounds. I'm not sure what the current facilitation of that is.
I would think with the development of the, ceiling, perhaps then you could have those laid out a lot
Yeah.
easier either near the toilets or where the path comes round, the concrete path as you park. And then, just so that you can get onto the footpath
Yep.
that's provided there. I mean, that could be something that will be included in the scope of the upgrade.
And it's an ongoing matter of review to provide that facility. You got two mobility car parks are being installed in the museum and historic village car park.
we should have been there long ago. I mean, I think the council needs to be quite clear that there are responsibilities in
Yeah.
relation to that.
Yeah,
And not a requirement for something
Really?
like Maz to have,
There is.
yeah,
Yep.
and we can't have a designated, I mean, the surface of the parking lots at Maz are hazardous to non-disabled people anyway, so there must be some legal requirement to do something about that area.
well, I'm quite happy with what is here. It is suggested that clarification be given in the master plan that the proposed optimisation of the existing car parking will include consideration of mobility parking provision.
But remove the word consideration, really, it just will include.
Yeah, will include. So there you are, Mark.
Yeah.
So now, through the chair, can I just ask, are you having, with your master plan, will you have action points at the end for consideration so that they get picked up? Otherwise, they'll never be picked up in the future.
It's a good table.
Yeah,
Doesn't have it doesn't have a table of action points. I think it's got actions under each of the subsections. Sort of integrated through that through the plan. But yeah, the way it works is we should be reviewing all our reserve management plans in the lead up to the LTP to look at what actions are in there and see which ones we can budget against.
That's why you would need an action table of points, so you know what you're reviewing and where you're at with it as you go along.
Need to, yeah.
yeah, I think you need to have, as well as, you can put it in the master plan, but I think you need to have action points that are reviewed by the committee maybe next year, so that they can look at it and see, okay, what do we need in the next LTP and what are we planning for?
Yep, and with the master plan, the intention is to treat it like a reserve management plan, which is that it's kept under continuous review. So you should be continuously reviewing it, checking off actions, and considering adding new ones as you go.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we need specifics on that in a table, as well as
Okay.
you know, I mean, there's a lot of wording in this document. If you could pull out the pertinent points and have those up for review, I think that would be a bit clearer.
And we can ask that Mark has some action points that we can go through and review and say, no, these are additional ones that we need to consider.
As things come up, in the future.
So, are we happy with that last section, transport and mobility? So dogs, any comments, anybody?
I just had a query on that. I'm not too sure what the bylaw allows for in this area, because someone's spoken about wanting it to remain an off-leash area for dogs. I'm not too clear on what area that is and if that is actually the case. So just some clarity on that would be helpful if Jenny's there, or.
Can you help there, Jenny?
Well, probably Mark is better from a bylaw point of view, but my understanding is the off-leash area is through the bush, through the walkways, Paul's track and the summer wine, but not within the actual park.
Okay.
Maz or the or anywhere around the historic village or the museum.
And well, I imagine it is, but is signage clear on that? It's not something I look at.
No,
it's not. So we need to raise a matter of greater clarity through signage of.
It's been attempted in the past, and there is still a myriad of confusing signage throughout Maz about dogs, but it's contradictory.
Is it? Yeah.
Our understanding has always sort of been within 10 metres of a playground area, dogs are not allowed, leashed or unleashed, they're just not allowed within 10 metres.
Yes.
And then other than that, it was always kind of your dog needs to be under control. But there was a period where KDC overnight seemingly put up a ton of no dog signs all throughout Maz, all over the place. So it's been an issue in the past.
Well, maybe the easiest point is that can we ask KDC to the council to provide clarity, please, on dog accessibility, and then provide relevant, appropriate signage, which is probably what you got there.
Sounds good.
I think it just clear that up.
Jenny, has there been discussions in the past about dog exercise area?
Not at the park. I mean, I'm a dog walker through the park most days or a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Most people seem to prefer going to the estuary or the beach to actually let their dogs off and exercise rather than through the park.
Yeah.
Can I just add, through the various meetings over years of the Friends of Mangawhai Community Park, I think dog walking has often been raised, and particularly to encourage control about any lesser area used areas, which is how I guess the Thelma Road thing came up.
Yeah.
So it is, and many people take their dogs on leashes, of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we need to add anything for clarity for Mark and Jenny on point 27. No?
Where is the alternative for people who want, I mean, the beach is only suitable when tide's out.
It
The
is.
domain as well is another area people take their dogs.
Sorry, Jenny,
The domain.
domain, yes,
Yeah.
correct, yes.
The issue with, I think, those areas for, I do quite a bit of dog fostering. And for a lot of the dogs I foster, they can't be in an area that isn't fenced. The domain has no fence, at risk of other dogs. The beach isn't fenced. If there was a fence, I've asked permission from the Christian club, so I used their archery field, the one in the heads,
Oh, yes.
which isn't fenced, but it's at least contained. I think having a fenced area for a lot of dogs would be great. Yeah.
Okay, so as an action, should we ask council to consider options in the park for a dog exercise area?
Well, it says.
So my suggestion would be that you make it something which the plan is open to, but you would want to have like a local kennel club or someone come to council for a license to occupy.
Yep,
Yeah, that would be
yep, excellent.
sense way,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, can I just clarify? So really, to me, a dog walking area is a fence. It's a rectangular fence. That's it. So an LTO for a rectangular fence seems a bit overkill.
Well, I think what they're talking about here in Jim is a dog exercise area. So it might have to be, I mean, if it was somewhere further in the park, it might have to be fenced.
I would guarantee it has to be fenced, but I don't understand if we're just building a rectangular fence, why do we need to get a local kennel in to apply for an LTO and do all that work when we build a rectangular fence?
I'm thinking here is that, I mean, a bit like what we said about the model boat sailing. Is there a club? Is there sufficient interest? Is there a group that would lead it?
I think, but I don't know if you need a group to build a rectangular fence.
Oh.
You just need an area and then build a fence at about 4 foot high.
Yep.
And say to the public, you're allowed to walk your dogs in this fenced area. And we're not talking acres and acres.
No.
Like, to me, this
If
park is almost too big.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
So I would think the interested group would be every person who pays for dog registration every year would just be, let's build a fence.
I'm not a dog owner, so, you know.
Isn't the answer just monitoring the demand and then seeing if it does, because you've got one request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
The fence is expensive, so.
Yeah. I'm just comparatively offensive.
appropriate area.
Yeah.
The fence is also concerning because it suggests that the dogs are not under control. And last thing we want is 2 dogs in there who are not under control and one wants to have a go at the other one. So there are quite a lot of issues associated with the Whangarei. So Whangarei has a dog exercise area that's fenced, our dog park as they call it, and that I know poses a lot of issues to their animal management officers. So it's something which we will have to investigate carefully, and would like to do that with an interest group, I suppose. Most of Mangawhai Community Park is actually a recommended off-leash area. I've just shared in the chat with Kelly the link to Council's website where you can see the recommended areas, and other areas such as around the museum are on leash, and the area around Maz is dogs prohibited on the play equipment here. So there's quite a few places, quite an opportunity there to let your dog off a leash, and other areas in Mangawhai we can let your dog off a leash. But in terms of a fenced area, that's something which we have to work through quite carefully.
Okay, thanks. Moving on. Community hub, I think we've probably discussed that fair amount. I don't know whether you've got any notes down there, Mark, but I think that the points would be to seek absolute clarity on community hub, potentially involving the library at Ivan Earlett Park. And despite the note on point 29 saying there's less support and even opposition to local government administration buildings, I mean, there is a simple reality is that, one, the council is in absolute need, desperate need for space, and it has a lease now for 3 years, so it's in a desperate need for a suitable administration building. Certainly the council are not in any position to buy land to do one. That we have land, that's our own land, so that is the logical place.
And it's adjacent for, to other services.
Yep.
When there's a civil defence.
Civil defence emergency, and it has to be located for civil defence at a high point in the community. Mr. Mayor.
Just on that note, we, in our meeting the other day with the surf club people, we're very happy to discuss the matter of helicopter pickup. And yeah, I'm really keen to see something done there behind the fire brigade and ambulance station.
Integrating a emergency helicopter.
Beach, because it's high tide, they're quite happy being someone up there to be lifted. And then you've got the night issue too. If you have, we need a night landing facility here.
That's right.
Well, it makes sense that it is there. You've got ambulance and the fire and emergency.
Oh, I suppose to put one.
Yeah.
Yep. So you got sufficient there? I mean, I don't know whether I'm out of.
Yeah, that's sufficient.
The sooner we get on with, some concept and design for the commercial civic building, the sooner we'll have somewhere to house all our wonderful staff. Number 30, don't think we're going to have a medical centre in there.
Not really.
General. Any points anybody wishes to raise on here? I think that I'll start. Point 31. Hey, that might well be the next phase for MAS.
Ever since I've been a part of MAS, which is maybe 7 years, a sound shell stage was part of the weekend scheme. There was a period in time still when Colin was chairman that the idea was scrapped. I can't remember the specifics, but largely it came down to an engineering aspect, I think. And then
I think it was hell expensive too, wasn't it?
yeah, it was definitely a cost factor. And I think the other issue we were kind of looking at is everything you build, you have to pay to maintain. And is something like a sound shell going to justify the volunteer hours and fundraising to maintain through the amount of use it might get? So it was kind of just, it's an option still, I guess.
Is that another nice to have, but not a priority?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, as the town expands, you might find that step grows another 10, 20 years, isn't it?
There was also an issue too where MAS actually got, I'll say scammed by two musicians who asked permission to have a gig on the Christmas parade stage, which is where the sound show was coined to go. This was a few years ago now, and they ended up absconding and leaving MAS with a very large bill to foot. It kind of changed the way MAS went around events now. So that was a part of it too, from memory, was maybe we're setting ourselves up for a lot of work here.
Yeah.
And costs.
Comment, yeah.
Well, we've got the comment there, nice to have, not a priority. Is that how we would like to leave that?
I think so. I was just.
Do you want to
Even.
include it as an example? As an example of something that could go at MAS, and then if you choose to do so, then it's supported by the plan. If you choose not to do so, then that's just fine. Do it that way?
Chairman, can I just
Yep, Mary Ann.
add, some years before that, probably, there was somebody who was a benefactor in the community who was interested to fund sort of sound shell in the park, not particularly as. So just leaving it open for that kind of.
That was Mangawhai Central way back.
Was it?
Andrew, what's his name? Yeah.
Even before that, I think it was.
Well, I mean, I mean, nice to have, not a priority, and you know, consider approaches from benefactors.
Yeah, exactly.
One submitter, number 32. It should be less accommodating of further expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. Well, I think we've pretty much covered that. And the nature is that that's our treatment plant. It is modular, and will expand. I think that there is room probably within the perimeter of the fence. But, you know, that's where our treatment plant is. We're not going to start another one.
Can't see it wanting a lot more expansion, but it requires it. We'll start.
Or maybe another balance tank, you know. I think we've covered 33.
Yeah.
Can I bring up 34?
Yep.
I think there weren't a lot of submissions. There were a few submissions from what I remember, but if you look at Facebook, people are pretty keen for that lookout tower to be reinstated. I think that's something worth maybe not scrapping.
Oh,
So that's something to put on an action plan that we look at for the next long-term plan.
Yeah.
And there were other points, there was another submission made that you also utilise other vantage points, points with
yes, there were there any other?
walkways and what have you. So I mean, it's, yeah, there could be a broad scope for some really good.
So, what have you got put there for the agreed for future consideration in next LTP?
Yeah, so what I'm doing there is retaining the direction because it's already in the master plan. With the master plan, it's setting direction. So when something's supported in the master plan, how it actually goes about being built or funded could be council funding, it could be through community organisation. The main thing is to say this is the direction, this is something that's supported, or this is something which is close to.
Yep. So on the next points, any comments? To me, 35 is all about signage.
Yeah, so that's kind of formed through forms part of the wayfinding project that my colleague Gail Fotheringham, I've just taken over kind of looking after that while she's away. Yeah, so that's included already.
Thank you.
That's very important, and it's important with things like the small blessing that we heard about before, that, you know, all of that just integrates a bit to everything that's happening. Yeah.
36, I agree. That's safety, you know. Maintaining a watching brief and to well, we probably need to add that under the park maintenance, is it? So
Yeah,
the shade loss.
yeah, that's just normal BAU.
Yeah.
It's okay. Over normal.
This is kind of where I was heading to with how current commercial entities should be supporting the park, because it's probably Maz's most common Google review feedback: needs more shade.
Yep.
Those shade cloths cost Maz a fortune. We've had insurance claims when they've broken or needed replacing because of winds or just average wear and tear. So it's really easy to say, yeah, more shade cloths, great, it's safety. But ultimately, who does it come down to spend the hours and the time to install them, maintain them, raise money for, do all the funding applications, the poles to hold them up? It's a huge exercise. And I don't imagine that anyone else in the park outside of Maz, I try not to focus on Maz too much because I'm not here on behalf of Maz, but it would be the same for Pioneer Village. If they want more shade cloth, there's they need to do all that work to get it there, and they're big areas to.
And should they really do the fundraising?
Well, they kind of have to, so I don't think they have a choice. Yeah, like that's kind of how the park is set up.
So here's the simple thing there, is that is, whether it be math, whoever, an approach to the club for funding, or approach to the golf club for a charity fundraiser.
It's easy to say, it's simple, but these aren't paid staff. These are people doing 40+ hours a week of a volunteer role. So that it would be simple on its own, but there's so much that it's just another thing on that huge list of things to do.
Well, okay, so the converse to that is, what other options are there? What I can tell you is that, and I did it for Maz and raised $15,000 at a charity fundraiser that I shared with something else, for your playground equipment. So, it can be done.
I have no doubt it can be done, but we lack people, resources, time. And I imagine the other areas are in a similar position too. So I don't know what the solution is.
Can I ask you a question again? Those shade things, is it the wind damage being your predominant problem?
Yeah, somewhat. When I say that, so we had one that the wind had loosened it and it ended up being on a piece of playground equipment and just wore a big hole through it. And then during that 100-year storm we lost a couple near the pirate ship in the playground, and that was an insurance thing.
I've got a couple of those industrial type covers that go between containers.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And even though
They fray.
50 years, they fall apart.
And I know the KDC pull them down every year in all the public parks. Every winter, they're all pulled down. Every summer, they're reinstated, and it's just to add to the longevity of the shade sales. So but for someone like Maz to undertake that exercise, that's a big expense and a lot of organising and time, and it's.
My question would it be worth investigating a different type of structure?
Possible, very possible.
Like a permanent,
Roof.
big
Duty,
carport roof type thing.
Yep, very possible.
Because otherwise it's an ongoing problem.
So,
well, we could add in there that we could possibly look at other
options.
options, more permanent, weatherproof, structures.
Well, he said amend the master plan to strengthen the provision of these aspects.
Well, that probably.
I'm thinking that from what we've just talked about is amend the master plan to consider wider range of options.
Or if it remains as it is, say to be funded by the organisations with licences to occupy.
Consider funding through,
The master plan doesn't, as I say, doesn't need the detail. It just needs, like, if we were to get a request from Maz, for example, to construct a colour steel roof to provide shade, for example, would we come in and say, well, that's not what's in the master plan, you can't do that, it's going to be a big ugly building, you can't have it? Or would we say, that is what's envisaged in the master plan, let's proceed? That's what the master plan's doing.
Yeah.
The funding sits separate to the master plan. For example, we consider funding construction through reserve contributions and through Private District Council's long-term plan. But that's a separate conversation.
And I want to avoid adding pressure to these entities with our master plan. So if we put in the master plan, there has to be this amount of shade, then we release the master plan, and then we put all that pressure on an entity like Maz or Pioneer Village to, well, now you have to fundraise and build shade because it's in the master plan you didn't write. I would be worried about adding additional pressure.
No, so it's not putting pressure on. So because we're not using wording like you are not allowed to have Maz there unless you that. I mean, Maz obviously does have some pressure around compliance with playground safety equipment and some of the safety equipment, etc., which you'll be well aware. But that's not the intent of this document. So this document is more saying this is where we want to go, this is what we want to be enabling of. And then when you go to apply for funding, you can say that this project is a project envisaged in the master plan. It's supported by the community. It's been considered. That's the value of it. But there's no pressure to go out and deliver. Indeed, there's things in here like the big ticket item in here is actually the car park optimization, and there's no pressure on council to go and deliver that in the next 3 years. But if we were to put that in an LTP and someone wants to say to us, why are you putting all that money in the LTP to upgrade the car and seal the mass car park, you would say because we consulted on it with the community, and through the master plan it's identified as being a priority. So that's the value of the document.
And I think that in all honesty, following on from that, Mark, is that there is no implication on additional work and challenge to mayors or whoever. I mean, really, it's as simple as that if mayors want to have a plan, a program of getting some more shade and all that in there, work up a plan, and it's a phone call or a meeting at the golf club, say, can we do a charity fundraiser? That's it. Golf club will organise much of it. It would be expected that mayors, through all your people, would support the event and provide names and things like that for people to enter, and would work together with the golf club to do it. But already, you see, there are people queuing up to do fundraisers next year. They've done 3 this year, and they won't do more than that.
And we should say that the Friends of Mangawhai Community Park will start to do some fundraising.
They're right.
And
that was
that kind of thing.
It was a key point about the Friends. It might be a thing done by the Friends. No. Okay, so we're well enough covered with that one. 37, request for swimming pool.
I think we covered that off with
I think
LDP. There was also, I think Mike Ferguson had a submission about putting a pool down in
Earlich Park. Well, I think
an area for something like
that. The point there is that Earlich Park is definitely identified as the preferred locale for if there was ever to be a swimming pool, because that's the recreational.
I don't know where you'd put one at Maz, even if it was.
Absolutely. And, who's going to look after it? So I think no.
The full concept of a swimming pool might, in the longer term, be taken up by this council with Auckland Council, because there have regularly been a huge number of requests for a swimming pool at Wellsford. And there are a lot of people that travel to Tahana from here to use the therapeutic pool in Tahana. It's something that is hugely valuable for wellbeing and health, even though we've obviously got the features, but for older people and for people with arthritis and variety of orthopedic conditions, very, very important, but not relevant to mayors.
No. So, okay, 38, 39, I don't think that there's any issues there. Maintain that direction. We've talked about signage and all that starting to happen. So that's good. That's already underway. So I don't think we need to add anything there, Mark. I instead, I think you might be able to use the word implement rather than improve, because that is underway, as we've heard from Jenny already today. Needs to be future provision for the Mangawhai artists in council commitment. Well, actually, there is space in the park allocated for Mangawhai artists, as far as I'm aware.
Through the chair, there's no actual allocated designated space at the moment for them. They withdrew their interest in the area by the historic village and have just registered that they would, if the time came, be interested at some stage, but they're not pursuing any funding opportunities at this time.
Okay, so
5-year possibility, and they forwent some of that in favour of the deerings with the current people involved.
oh yeah, that was the move. But I mean, the action point there is really it's in the hand of Mangawhai artists, right?
Yes, yes, and we've been working closely with Mangawhai artists around that.
Okay, and 42 drinking fountains. I think that's just a health and safety issue. Jenny,
Yes.
can't be progressed.
This is, sorry, can we dwell on that for a minute, as that can't be, we can't provide water to park users. No, is it, the water tank at Maz is filled by Water Boy, which is drinking water. So it seems strange that like if my tank at home runs out of water, I call Water Boy and that's my drinking water. And we're using the same water at Maz. We're not allowed to run it through the fountains.
But you're not using it for drinking.
You're using the toilets, and what we have to do is testing.
Yes.
That's the difference. You have to test it all the time.
Yeah.
Make sure, because when you put it in the tanks, by the time it gets to the drinking water fountain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's a problem for us.
Yes, okay.
Nice to have the prohibited.
Is that something to do with Three Waters, or
It's just to do with.
Health and safety.
Exactly.
is it a national thing or is it a Kuiper thing?
No, it's an issue.
It's a national thing, yeah, okay.
Quite strict water.
Yeah,
Yeah. Through the chair, it's actually run through the Te Whatu Ora, through the DHB, so they're responsible for monitoring public water consumption, and it would have to be worked through our environmental health officers and working closely with Te Whatu Ora and meeting the regulations, and it is also very costly to implement all of those.
So through the chair, it's because we haven't got a water system.
Yeah,
We haven't got
yeah,
regulated.
we haven't got.
yeah,
We can have drinking water fountains in a park in a city.
yeah, okay, because it's made,
They've got different points throughout the reticulation network that they need to test water.
Yeah.
And then put in chlorine into the water, yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, big cost.
The real answer to that is we've got to get a reticulated water supply.
I think we can somewhat that on though as well, because I think a big driving force behind the feedback of, hey, we don't have any drinking water here is the fact that Maz has drinking fountains
Yeah,
that don't work. So people go to use them, they don't work, and then they say, hey, there's no drinking water.
Ah.
Whereas if those fountains
when there.
were removed,
Yeah.
we've hesitated to remove them on the off chance that maybe there's a way
Yeah.
they could.
That might
People don't complain about things they don't
No.
know.
They-
Sorry,
Remember, they were donated, weren't
they were by the church here, I believe.
they? Yeah. A good idea, but they-
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But we were on bore water at that stage.
that's right.
Well,
And you had filter on the ball.
yeah, it was a whole different arrangement. Yeah.
Because, you know, it just is, it's the way it goes. So, look, I mean, it's a no-go, until such time as we have a reticulated water system.
So we might pull those fountains out. Huh?
Yeah, you can't store them and wait until.
Food forest,
in the future.
interesting.
Yeah.
So do you need anything else on that one, Mark? Can't be progressed, it's in the hands of DHB.
Yeah, that's where that lies.
Yep. 43, there was a request for a food fountain. I think one request,
Food forest.
food forest. Fountain.
I think there's a good answer beside that.
Yeah, there is. Come on.
Well, there's a recommendation there
Yeah,
that
there is. It is recommended that the plan be silent on this matter, leaving it interest groups, well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so leave that. We're definitely not going to be going in an adventure motorbike track. Outdoor exercise equipment. There is already outdoor exercise equipment at Mares. This offering could be expanded over time, as in keeping with the current wording of the master plan. I think that's good, and we leave that positively there.
It doesn't need to be just within Mares, that can be
It could be in all sorts of different ways.
through the whole.
Down through the shared pathway, if you wanted it, which would be a good idea. Like they do at beaches and in different parts of the world and,
Right around Lake Pupukī, for example.
yeah. Oh, I think that's it's an excellent initiative for us to consider. From a path from the club car park to the Flying Fox and beyond. Well, I think it's not remaining due to hazard would pose a petition. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Race derbies down there.
No,
No,
I can envisage. Well, there is a
Typing around the place without that.
pathway through there.
through the park.
No. So that's no. Last three.
We've got about 7 more to go.
Have we?
Go there.
Have I gone? Oh,
So you're only on 40.
47.
Yeah.
Righto.
Yeah.
We'll just quickly go through these. Football field cicada, well, that's Ehrlich Park, that's easy. There was a request to see community park turn into reserve to protect it. Well, I'm pretty sure.
It's well protected by just having a reserve management plan. I mean, the
Yeah.
process it has to go through to be accepted for the community. If you start involving central government, that becomes really complex. So that's
Yep.
like it's a Perth Cup. It's one of the ones that's been registered as a reserve under the,
Under reserve management plan.
yes, it's different from just having a reserve management plan and,
Yeah.
and needs the involvement of central government. So I think we want to steer away from that.
Yeah,
I think that's covered here. It says it also hamper the ongoing use and development of the park, so.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
that covers what we've got.
I think-
It's the recommendation.
the
Helipad was.
helipad will, as per discussion of integrated structures or facilities with
Okay,
the
Matt.
building.
Yep.
So you're all right there, Mark. Retain this direction in the master plan, definitely. Address signage and clutter, especially around the museum. Well, will be
Separation and
operational and that's happening.
it's not included in the master
No,
plan.
shouldn't be.
We're doing signage.
Agree, remove the inclusion of fire breaks as this is impractical. And I think that we've pointed out that that's correct. So we would agree to take that out. The fens matter is logical. It's in their footprint.
Yep, I agree with that.
There was a request for fully accessible public toilets with changing facilities to be established on the park so that both children and adults could use the facilities. Going forward, all new public toilets, well, I think that's, and we've already talked about considering new options for that, and that would be taken into account. So that would be, are you happy with that, Mark?
Yep,
Yep, good.
I think that's everything there. The remaining question I need to ask you is, having read the submissions yourself and attended the hearings, has anything been missed, do you think? You
No,
satisfied that you've given consideration?
don't
to
believe
what's
so.
raised? Very good.
50.
I would just add one point on 56. I actually do agree with this. And you can't, for health and safety, you can't have a walkway all around the perimeter of the golf club, just too dangerous. But there is an area going across the hill above the third, and it would go up to a hill, it'd only be a 150-metre track, but it would then link in to Paul's track, I think it is. It is Paul's track. It would link in there, not far down, just above the fifth fairway, and then, it's just another way of bringing in the golf course. And the golf course is going to redevelop their practice area. So I mean, I would think working together, it could be facilitated. That's not to say it will be, but I think that there is an opportunity to discuss a short linking path with the golf club above the fifth fairway.
Yeah, and that links into that area too, optimising the car parking area. there.
Optimising
The path.
optimising the whole car park area.
Yeah.
So there we are.
On the 55, there was a request for the installation of more inclusive play equipment in MAS to include those with disabilities. And it says here such installations could be consistent, or would be consistent with the direction in the master plan.
Yep.
And there's no change to make it happen. But I just wondered does anyone know if there's any funding that you can actually apply for that?
I was actually going to ask if it's possible. I looked, but that person's feedback, that person represented a government body for disabled people. I can't remember.
I think it was.
But their contact was taken away, I guess, for anonymous reasons, when it was presented to us. So I'm wondering if anybody here would have a contact for that person so that MAS might be able to reach out to them and possibly they have funding.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're happy to work with them.
yeah.
But yeah, if they being a corporate or
We need to find out what
body.
group or what body,
I can add something to that, in that I had, when I was speaking with Defy Community Trust, had a number of requests. Engaged with somebody from Te Whatu Ora. It was a community occupational therapist who came and assessed the situation, made some specific suggestions. It's just like anything else, the money has to be raised. So with Colin Gallagher and I and the person who came from Te Whatu Ora was very happy to give a lot of information. I think there are 2 companies in New Zealand that actually provide information. It's expensive and it just comes into the same kind of issue. They did make some specific suggestions that I can probably still locate to you.
Is it possible for me to get the name of the person that submitted that feedback?
Because there's contact details as well. So we'll make sure we're in touch.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
because I think it would be a good thing to include in the park.
It's been,
Some of this, if we can in the future.
Yeah.
Raise funds and actually have it there for people there to use.
one of the issues MAS faces with the playground equipment is sand. A lot of that playground equipment is reliant on mechanisms
Yes.
and the sand would destroy it.
It kills it.
And also our playground isn't even really accessible by a lot of disabled people because it's sand. Like getting a wheelchair through there, for instance, it's not a good setup for the disabled. Yeah.
All right, okay, so have we got enough on that one, Mark? Number 55?
Yes, I think I've got all the direction I need there.
Yep, you got that? Okay, cool. Well, we have been a big exercise, but we've got to the end of it. I'll just go to move a statement. Mary Ann, any further?
The only other thing I think, Mr Chairman, I'd suggested on page 7, there's a sentence saying many assets and activities in the Mangawhai Community Park have been created by small charitable trusts with licences to occupy specific areas of the park and consistent work by many community volunteers. I think that could be strengthened a little bit, and I think most people in the community, and it's reflected in some of the input for the consultation, assume that the council is putting more money into the assets. And I think it could be much clearer that it is the community organisations, and they might be called small, but they don't need to be regarded as small. I mean, they are extremely hardworking, thousands of hours of input and thousands of dollars brought into create some of those assets and so on. So I think I'd written a note that was emailed.
Yeah.
So I think just a little bit more on that, and I think the volunteers would appreciate that.
Yep.
Obviously, they're very grateful for anything that the council does, but often that's without sort of.
I'm just trying.
I think it is a recognition because the park wouldn't be what the park is today if it wasn't for people and those hours that they give continuously. So I think that is a big part of the park, and it should be recognised. And more within that.
And certainly from the Friends of Mangawhai Community Park, a very strong message of wanting to work in collaboration and feel it like an even partnership.
Yep.
Rather than a few things being given by the council to feel it's a more partnership.
And this is where I think it's fair to say, you know, the direction that, you know, Friends has been going is to actually actively identify projects that need to be done collectively through the park so that there is more of a focus for fundraising and all that too.
Yeah, yeah.
I thank you. Anything else, Marianne? Well, I will second it. So, I mean, I'll just say that, thank you. I mean, I think I'd like to thank all the people that did submit. And for all of your time today, and actually previously in going through the submissions. I think that what it shows is a wonderful, I mean, this is a unique park in the country, and Mayor's is, we know, is an absolute unique facility that we've got. So we don't know how lucky we are. And I think that it's really reflected that the passion in some of these ideas. Overall, not big change, you know, keep this, you know, the ship steady. Yes, small amounts of innovation. As need grows, there is something, I mean, I think that the biggest thing is, to me, is what else could be done in the park if you ever wanted to? And actually, could you get access to it? And some of it we know is just damn near impenetrable. So our facilities are our walking paths and tracks and the amenities that we have. And I think that the passion and engagement by the community is well appreciated and well acknowledged by us. And thank you to all, and thank you to everybody, you know, the whole team here. I'll move then that we accept the recommendation that the Mangawhai Park Governance Committee direct staff to amend draft Mangawhai Community Park Master Plan in accordance with the direction given at this meeting. Direction, timetable, well, Mark has all of that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
So can I just ask Mark, so that means you'll go away and do changes and then bring it back to another meeting where we adopt it and then it gets adopted by the council? Is that the next steps?
Yes, so I'm going to amend the plan in accordance with this feedback. I'll then circulate it by email, so you can let me know if I've got it right. Then when it comes back to a meeting, we will recommend it to the council, and so we recommend council adopt this as the final, and then council can adopt the final.
Yep. Thanks. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jenny. It being 3 minutes past 12, I'll officially close the meeting. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.